how we can build a content writer bot. In the Langchain workflow, we are going to interact with multiple tools, and each tool uses separate language model. All these tools collaborate together and work on the user's input to generate the final article. So that's what this application is about. Let's see what are the internal blocks of this application. This is a workflow bot, and so I'm using Tavily search results to get the latest news, and this is one of such result which I hard coded here because I don't want to run out of my tokens as part of the experimentation. So I hard coded running locally all the operations. I'm having the reference of three different language models: Llama, Mistral, and DeepSeek, and we will be using each language model to execute a different task in this application. So let's go to the initializer part. So let's go to the initialization. While you are experimenting, you can actually create an API key and give it here so that you can get the live data from the API results. This is a publisher tool. So once we have everything, so this will take and publish the things to the external sources. I mean, if it is needed, we can have it. Because I don't have it at the moment, I left it empty. But this is an ideal execution scenario that we can make use of it. That means we can directly publish to our blog posts or websites, or even we can send emails. All these can be executed using this publisher tool. And then we have the language model references, and forget this part. This is hard coded and this is just content. The initialization is done. Let's see the workflow chain now. So the user input will be received as part of the chart to this workflow chain. Step one is we have created a research tool where it needs to perform the research. Let's go to research chain. Ideally, this is how it should work. So this is the research prompt, and it tries to get the topic from external sources, and then this is the chain that does the actual researching. So it takes the topic and it actually get the results from this lambda function, the Travely run topic. So it passed that topic and it directly converts, because we are using an internal library of the Langchain for the Tavily search results. So it actually reformats Langchain's data structure from whatever the API is returning. Once we have the topic and results right, then it construct the research prompt and then it will hand it over to the LLM. That's the job of research chain. So I got this data likewise during my experimentation and I cached it for the demonstration purpose. Once we get the data from the research chain, whatever content which is derived from the research chain is handed over to the validator chain. Validator chain is something which runs locally and using an LLM, using Llama here for this purpose, and the chain goes like this. And it needs a validator prompt and the language model instructing this chain to generate the content without grammar issues and without any tone mismatch or avoiding hallucination. If there are any factual errors, we're giving the content here to validate it. So the model validates the content based on its personal knowledge. But if we have any facts to validate the content, we can actually inject it here in this prompt itself by mentioning it as a facts. Compare the content with the actual facts given like a placeholder, something like this. So we can mention this and we can give it as an input in the validator chain. So here we have given input content, right? So similarly, we can give as fact and whatever object we have for the facts from either we retrieve from any documents or any external sources, we can fetch from that source and we can give that as a result here for the fact checks, because that will take too much time to execute the demonstration. So I'm not going into that direction at this point, but we can try it out and purely based on our personal interest. So that's how we created a validator chain. And once the validator chain is done, then after verifying all the facts, then we get a valid output, and now we are going to assign a different tool, different chain, to finally draft the article from the validated article. We are setting it like insights, format is article and tone as professional. So let's go to writer chain. All the chains follow the similar pattern of execution. So every chain needs an LLM. Here we are using a DeepSeek as a writer and instructing it to, using a research insights below these insights, write a format in tone. We are passing two arguments when we are executing the user input, format and article. So these will be accepted as a parameters while constructing the prompts. Only return the article, no analysis or internal thoughts. Otherwise, final article will be included with a lot of thought process of the Langchain itself. Because we don't need them, we are setting that as a rule in the prompt and instructing the language model not to include them. We have all the tools in place to execute the workflow now. So once after the workflow chain executes all the steps, then it will return the response and we can see the final response here. So let me execute this workflow now. Let's execute the workflow. In my earlier experimentations, I have observed Langchain. This workflow execution will take enormous amount of time. Let me see what I hard coded about AI in agriculture. How AI agriculture impacts impact future. Okay, so this is my question. Because I have hard-coded input content, the research content is very quick. Otherwise, to perform this operation itself, it will take 3 to 4 minutes. It depends on our laptop's computational power again. I'll be forwarding the video a bit. I think the second one also went through. Validation output has come here based on the context provided. It identified a few grammar issues and tone mismatch it found because we said it as professional, right? So it found that and it fixed it. Hallucinations not there, and factual errors, it found few things based on the language model's internal knowledge. Corrected version it returned. This is the final version from the validation output, corrected version. This output is handed over to the writer chain. Now the writer chain is executing. Let's see the output of writer chain once after finishing its job. The chain is taking too long. Here we got the final article, AI's role in modern agriculture, opportunities and challenges. This article basically consolidated all the facts and what are the technical advancements and how AI currently, how it is impacting and how it is going to impact in future. All the details are well articulated by this writer chain. So with this I am exiting now because trying any other prompt will again take like 5-10 minutes, which is not actually suitable for the demonstration. And I do add one point here. In various examples I have noticed people do have a router chain. The language model decides which task to execute next, and sometimes we get repetitive actions even if the action is completed because language model instructed the router chain or router task to execute same action again. Workflow will not execute in a smooth way. All this happens because language model or Langchain doesn't remember what actions they executed or will execute. It is our duty to maintain the state explicitly and to control the workflow while executing these applications. That is one setback what I have seen while experimenting with the Langchain workflow. That is the reason why we haven't seen a router chain here, because I don't want a router to decide what action to take next, because we know what are the sequence of steps to execute in this workflow. And that's why we directly started with the workflow and started with the research and executed next steps in the sequence. This is clearly an example for Langchain linear workflow.